switched yet?
Dave, you're such a fucking turd.
Everybody, thank you very much for coming up. Dave, shut up! Shut up! This isn't critical questions. This is my channel. Shut your mouth. Oh my god, look at the size of the fucking chat. I fucked the chat up again. The chat's massive. Right. Everybody, thank you very much for coming back tonight to another open mic night. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4 of us. Amanda may join us if she can get her audio issues sorted. BRAINBUG should hopefully be joining us in a wee while. Spartan should hopefully be joining us in a wee while as well. So Dave's put the link in the chat. If anybody feels like jumping in, we do have a few free spots at the minute. As I say, we also have a few spots dedicated to people, so we will be swapping in and out. Quick run around the room while I fix the chat. Quentin, go for it, man. Let everybody know who you are.
Yo! I'm Quentin. I am basically MathPig's adopted nephew. I am the token ginger of my fan group, and I am a complete fuck-up.
And proud of it, Quentin, yes?
Hell yeah, you know it.
Yeah, Quentin is also the wonderful owner of probably the worst internet connection that we know. So if he does dip in and out, please have some respect for him on that. It's not his fault. Rib, up in the top corner there. Oh, in the bottom corner, man. Yourself.
I'm an atheist online. I like arguing with people. It's my favorite thing to do. I do debates every now and again. I delve into politics as well. So I have one that's in the politics realm coming up tomorrow. That'll be going live on my channel tomorrow. So yeah.
Anything big coming up?
Anything which?
Anything big coming up?
Dave's fishing for information.
Anything big? I mean, the topic is on, like, should we defund the police, which is like a very kind of like a polarizing one. So, you know, probably.
Yeah, interesting. Geo, you're the GIMP man.
Yeah. That's GIMP. That's a graphics raster graphics program. I'm a graphic artist, and I happen to be also a non-believer, atheist, agnostic. I don't know. But that's what I do.
If you need art, hit up Geo. Hit him up on Twitter or Discord. Geo usually is, if he's got a free minute or two, he'll usually give you a hand and he'll try and work something together for you. And last but not least, the cunt in the bottom in the middle, Dave.
Hello, I'm Dave.
Have you anything big coming up maybe tomorrow, Dave? No?
I have a tiny little show coming up tomorrow, which has got like everyone on it. So
yeah, how many people did you invite to your show?
70.
So tomorrow should be a very fun hangout for you. Well, as that, we will just jump straight into it. We'll just go headlong into it. And as per usual, me and Dave usually, Armando, we get together and have a wee chit chat and try and come up with a topic. And yeah, we struggle every fucking week. We struggle. This week we have Dave. You're more articulate than myself.
You've forgotten it, haven't you?
No, I'm just trying to be an ass to you.
Does religion help with societal cohesion?
Yes. Does religion help with society's cohesion, the cohesion of society? Does it go forward and help us build something better? Santi, boom, man, been wild. Thank you very much for joining us.
How you doing?
Did you hear the topic?
No.
Dave.
Does religion help with society's cohesion?
Oh, no.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Well, no, in saying that, right, we were discussing a few different topics back and forth along the same sort of lines. Now, the reason that we picked these specific words that we're using is because we felt that it would give more of an option back and forth. You know, it can be argued in both the positive and the negative. And considering that we are doing that and I'm the host and I'm in charge and it's really fun tonight to make fun of Dave. Dave, give us an example of a positive example of that.
If everyone believes the same thing, society works better together.
That's not the fucking excuse you gave me earlier. The one you gave me was a bit more extreme.
Right, okay. Right, if you've got a society, and you have a bunch of people that all believe that redheads are the best, and a bunch of people all believe that blondes are the best, they can get together as a group behind a religion and kill all the redheads.
Yeah.
And then we have a wonderful blonde cohesive society.
Well, or vice versa. You know.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna kill all the
everybody
blondes.
agrees.
That's right.
Also, killing
both ways.
So
Go ahead.
killing goes along with cohesion. Is that?
Oh, if you kill off all the
I think what
dissenters-
Dave's what Dave's trying to point out is that the ends, justifies the means, so to speak.
Okay, so
You know.
killing is okay.
Well, killing is okay under certain circumstances. Like it's like
As long as it's only gingers.
no. I'd say
No,
like
no,
it varies from it's like a level thing. Like if you kill a tomato because you're hungry, right? It's not a big deal. Like it's still a living thing, right? Now, if you kill a dude because you're hungry, it's a complete different kind of kill, right?
But the
You
point
know,
is not about killing. The point about killing is that if your religion
Mhm.
and an ideology as well, if you can kill all the dissenting voices, you get a more cohesive society.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Or
but you gotta
violent.
kill all the blunts.
Or silence them.
Yeah, and then but it wouldn't work because then it's what's next. Like if we get all together, right, and we decide we're gonna kill all the gingers per se, right, instead of the blondes, because it's a smaller population, so we could get this
Just
done.
remember, Santa,
Right.
my mother's in the chat and I'm ginger, so behave yourself.
Hi for guys.
Yeah. I'm ginger too.
Ginger here.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, go on
I'm
ahead,
not.
sorry.
I'm part of the majority. So if we did this right, then it wouldn't really change. Our belief, right, was like that the world would be better because we kill the gingers. We kill all the gingers, the world's still the same, right? So like the belief has to move to something else.
But
Right,
the hatred
like,
might
you
move
can't
to
stay
something
there.
else.
But we're not just gonna stand around and be like, "Yay, the world's better, no more gingers," you know.
The problem, you're right, is that it does seem history seems to show us, especially when it comes to religion, but again with other ideologies as well, that once they have killed off the one group of people, one way or another, either by exclusion or via non-destructive means, they move on to something else. It's having that enemy that seems to help with the cohesion.
Yes.
Yeah, but they move from enemy to enemy. Usually, it's not like you move from like the Civil War to the Renaissance. You know.
Smokey,
Plus,
evening.
you really can't kill off all the gingers. We're resilient as fuck.
Smokey, you joined at a perfect time, man. We were just discussing how if we killed all the gingers in the world, it would be a better cohesive society.
Oh no, I love the gingers. No, they're hot as hell. I don't want to get rid of the gingers. I love the gingers, man. All that light
Thank
colored
you. I
skin
am
and the red
light.
hair, man. No, I'm all over it, man.
And
Yeah,
saying that,
absolutely.
we have one previous ginger. I think Geo used to be a ginger before he went grey. I have a ginger beard, and we have Quentin in the top corner here.
The world is better with
I have
gingers, even though
What do
they
you mean
don't have a
used to be?
soul.
I have ginger in my beard, but it's not like fully ginger, if that counts.
Well, you're Irish, so that's we've got that going for you.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm as close.
All
as
right,
I'm gonna
I'll
get
grant
without
you
actually
honorary
being-
ginger status.
Oh yeah, because you're the king of all gingers. That really worked out well.
I'll give you honorary ginger status.
Well, Smokey, the reason we were using that topic, first and foremost, man, thank you for joining. Hopefully we got you.
Sure.
through.
Well, no, I felt compelled. I wouldn't want the theists, coming in here and saying, "Oh, look, another atheist circle jerk with no theists in the room." So I felt, I just felt obligated.
Well, in saying that, man, Spartan is on his way. He's just sorting some stuff at the house. He's running a wee bit late, but Spartan's a regular here. He's a Christian, and his
Cool.
wife felt that comfortable last week that she also joined, and she's a Christian as well. So,
Sweet. Awesome.
yeah. As I say, thanks very much for coming in. Hopefully we'll have a cordial conversation tonight. As I watched you a little bit today on Rage, and it is definitely possible to go that direction. I hope we don't. As you did point out, you get what you give. So I hope that we will give some good points here. The topic that we were going with tonight to start off with was, now let me see if I can say it right. I'll not put Dave on the spot. Does religion help with the cohesion of society?
I think you would have to say yes, would you not? I mean, in the
No.
sense that any semblance of community where people are believing concurrent things creates better cohesion amongst those people. I don't know how you could really contend to the contrary unless you're just desperate to deny religion having any actual value.
Well, that was the exact point that Dave pointed out, is if you had a society of blonde people and a society of ginger people, and you had a religion that said ginger people were bad, everybody could get together and kill all the gingers, you'd have a coherent society then.
Well, yeah,
It's
but
an
that would, of
extremist
course,
point of view, but it agrees with your stance.
well, in the sense that the ideal society, I would agree. An ideal society would be one where everyone does happen to believe the same thing. But of course, I think that's outside the realm of realism. I don't think we're being.
I thought the
It also sounds pretty boring.
ideal society was all gingers.
Maybe.
That's what I thought.
No,
was
I
the
mean,
final goal.
Personally, I think that anything where you could have an agreeing of the minds, and even like pushing for it in America, where we would have an agreeing of minds on the value of the Constitution, this construct of absolutist ideals of human rights that other countries struggle to kind of replicate without reaching into the same type of objectivism constructs that we use. So I do think that there is something to be said for finding the methods of those cohesions. Now, religion is just one of those mediums, in my opinion. I don't think you could dismiss it unless, again, you just really, really want to.
So I'll be desperately honest, I was not listening. I was swapping people in the fucking back room. I hope everybody else in the fucking room was listening, man. I know you said
He was
about
very
OBS,
eloquent.
yeah, I'm doing the OBS thing in the background there for a second. I had to bring my girlfriend in to say hello. Manda, I don't know if you've known, I think you were watching earlier. I think that was your first interaction with Smokey, so hopefully tonight we can maybe move forward a wee bit from that.
What happened?
Has anybody anything they would like to add?
Wait, is there someone in the room mad at me or something?
No. I'm just saying her first interaction of seeing you was your interaction with Rage today.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it.
So,
Where did you talk to Rage? Sorry.
So in other words, you can be an asshole, but not always.
sorry, Rage.
Where did you talk to Rage, Smokey? Like, was it on your channel or on his? Or what was the story there?
You mean
When
recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, today.
Sorry to
Yeah,
take
today
off topic,
on his stream. No, I went into his stream.
All right. Okay.
They were
that
talking
was
climate
the,
change.
Yeah, climate
No,
change.
they
yeah.
weren't.
Oh.
No, that was that was where he came into my stream and we talked about
Thank
that.
you, by the way.
But no, he was doing a review on that, and then I went into his stream and talked to him. That was different topics altogether.
Yeah, it sort of did diverge and go off in a wee bit of a tangent.
It wasn't really about climate, I think, at all. In fact, I don't think we discussed climate
If
at
anything,
all.
man, if I can be desperately honest, and I'll say the same to you as what I typed in Rage's chat, I was like, that wasn't a conversation. That was the two of you just going, fuck you and fuck you back and calling each other names. And entertaining as it was, and up to 40 odd people watching, I don't think there was anything that came out of it.
Well, I don't know. I think a couple of the points that I wanted to get across, I was happy that I got across, particularly about his stance for the free speech paradigm.
Yeah.
That he wants to support. That was kind of important for me to get kind of a little bit clear. Granted, not everyone was going to pick up on it, but to me, it was important to kind of get that out there. And also, kind of the clarification of the dynamic of how kind of like what I'm doing and how kind of hypocritical it seems that Rage is kind of having this expectation. I mean, he denies, certainly any advice or anything I've offered him, but he seems to feel that he can tell me exactly how I'm to operate with certain people. And I just wasn't going to choke that down, is all it was.
Well, the person he was talking about, Matt, did turn up in the chat to say that he agreed with you in certain points and he called you a brother in Christ.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, he called you a brother in Christ, but he did say that he didn't agree with you on absolutely everything. That is one thing that you also pointed out. I think to go straight for the jugular, so to speak. Knock did say, asked you, do you advocate for the murder of LGBTQ people like the NAFB do?
No, of course not. And I don't think that he really did either. I think he was kind of asked a loaded question, and Ronnie just kind of ran with the answer and painted it something.
And saying that, man, I've seen him do that 3 times. You can go back and watch the stream with Skylar.
Well, I'll have to look at it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anyone present to me the thing that Ronnie is saying he said yet. And he played the clip of his interview with Matt Powell, his hidden cam interview or whatever that was, and I didn't hear him say what he said Matt Powell said.
Yeah.
So I was having a hard time reconciling that of what exactly are you expecting me to do here? Like I'm not going to condemn him for something I don't see the same thing that you're seeing. So what do you want?
Well, I understand your relationship with Knock, and I know I wouldn't go so far as saying we have a friendship or anything like that, but take me at my word, I have seen Matt say these atrocious things.
Well, send it to me, because what's been provided to me so far is not what has been painted to me at all. So, I mean, the thing is, you guys need to understand that in a certain perspective, some of the Christian fundamentalists, the way that they view it, they see these Old Testament ideas as something to be propagated, like for modern times, like as if they even could. Seriously, think about this for a second. As if they even could manifest an actual theocracy right now, understanding that the laws and the precepts inside the theocracy carried with them the accountability of the theocracy. Like there's no way to actually reconcile it. And I love my brothers and sisters, and I love even the Torah, observers, but it's kind of the same thing. Where, like, at what point do you almost even draw the line between which of these laws are you going to practice? See, because
Dave, go on ahead, Dave. Give it.
General with the Bible, but the point is that they don't see it. They just see it. They picked some, and they're going to try and head down that route.
I think it's not. I don't think it's that they pick some. They're picking all of it, but they're just picking it hyper literal. Like for instance, like the NIFB. You guys know what type of fundamentalists they are in terms of Bible interpretation, right? You guys are familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the New King James Version only.
King James only, yeah.
Okay, so that means that they will never go look at Hebrew or Greek or cultural commentaries. What they will do is they will read exactly as it's there. And they will say, this is how it's meant to be. They basically claim God inspired, not the writers, the friggin' translators. Who, by the way, had access to the least number of ancient cross-reference manuscripts of any other scholar in all of times past, and yet they supposedly had the superior interpretation. And they don't do well when they debate this topic with any Christian, that worth their salt. But this is kind of one of those things where I would like to push the Christians in my community to elevate, to get a little bit more sophisticated about their perspective of this relatively complex piece of ancient literature.
Rib, have you anything?
So how do you decide where these lines are drawn?
I've just decided for myself. This is what makes the most sense to me with the scholarly interpretation I've gleaned.
How does that consist of belonging to this religion and its beliefs if you yourself get to pick and choose?
Yeah, the core doctrine I can't pick and choose. That's the essentiality, in terms of
how do you decide what's core?
Well, simply as we're called to use our discernment, like the Bereans in Acts 17, to actually test every spirit, to test the words of all men, of all teachers, of all thoughts, even to the actual standard of Scripture, to see if it lines up or not. And this is why we have debates in these spheres, because not all of us do that. Some of us just get an idea and we run with it,
Well,
so that's the spirit.
You're still cherry picking, for want of a better word. What you or a group of people or discussion has led you to believe, even though another interpretation equally be valid.
Well, why can't I just say this is what makes sense to me based upon my study and looking into it? Why am I not allowed to just say that? I'm not claiming this is the correct interpretation. But by the way, if I'm talking to my brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell them this is the way I see it. And by the way, even when I talk to them, I don't come down on them. I don't say, hey, idiots, you got to believe the way I do. I'm very patient with them. I say, well, you see it that way. This is how I see it. You do your thing. I do mine. I don't bring... You see, and I guess maybe some of the atheists expect me to bring some sort of condemnation just because I disagree with them on peripheral doctrine, but that's not how we work.
But why? Okay, here's the question of really what you're doing.
Dave, after you, Rib's literally biting his fucking fingers to get in. So after you,
why do you bother with atheists?
Say again.
Why do you bother with atheists?
I think that the licensing that atheism tends to give is potentially culturally toxic.
But surely Christians that have got it wrong are closer and more worthy of saving.
What do you mean, saving? Wait, what do you mean? Wait, are you saying that you think that because they differ from me on peripheral theology, they're not saved?
I think that there are certainly arguments in multiple sects that say that.
Okay, so should I judge their eternal souls based upon their peripheral theology, or should I operate with temperance?
You judge the soul.
Well, I don't know what you're really expecting of me. I guess I'm a little confused.
My point is would your time not be better spent trying to convince, for example, I don't know what your underlying thing is, but trying to convince, for example, Catholics that they've got it wrong?
Oh, I do that too. Oh, yeah, sure, I do that too.
Rather than atheists who are so far away.
I don't just have one fight that I'm in. And I've gone off on the Catholics. In fact, if you would go and frequent any of the videos on Church Militant, you will find a slew of comments that I leave in their videos about some of their stuff. So no, I mean I'm not just one trick pony, man. I'm going after a lot of battles here.
Reb,
Jehovah's Witnesses too, and Mormons.
Reb, have you anything that you would like to ask or add?
And Islam. I love going after Islam. One of my favorites.
On that note, Rib, would you like to dive in?
Wow, yeah, there was quite a lot said there. Sorry, I'm just trying to pinpoint where I start. This was kind of said a few minutes ago, but okay. So
it's okay, Rib. Take your time. I promise. I'm not going to be mean.
A core doctrine, and that like there are some stuff around the edges of that's like, maybe like, oh, it's metaphorical or it's not meant to be taken seriously, etc., right?
Right.
What do you say to the people, because there are people out there who will say no, all of it is just as equally valid or is just as important as all of the core stuff that you agree is core stuff, but they will say that everything is just as important as
right.
That,
oh, like, yeah, no, what I would
level to it,
sure. What I would teach to them, or preach to them, I guess probably I would say, would be Matthew 7:2, which everyone knows Matthew 7:1, because that's one of the favorite verses atheists love to quote in terms of judge not lest you be judged. But of course, the verse does continue, which basically alludes to judging righteously, not to not judge, but to judge righteously. So what I would say to those Christians is, I would say, are you so certain about your exclusionary theology? When I say exclusionary theology, is there certainty that this is the only way you can do it? By the way, there are some churches like that. If you do not have exactly our rigid, specific interpretation of both core and peripheral theology, you are cursed. You are going to hell. What I would say to them would be an exhortation on that verse of Matthew 7:2. Say, realize that by whatever standard you judge, you are going to be judged. So if you happen to get it wrong, you might be betting your very soul on whether or not you got it right. So these are one of those things that I would tell them to be conscientious of for having such rigid, strict, linear, types of theology. I give a lot of leeway to my brothers and sisters unless I can draw a discernible link to Scripture of a true, actual heresy, contradiction, or false teaching.
Again, how do you determine what's false? You're back to the same.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have
okay, right. Spartan has just joined. I haven't got a chance to say hello to Spartan. We did mention that Spartan was I'm going to be an asshole, our token Christian that comes every week. Thank you very much, Spartan, for coming in. But have you anything that you disagree with from another point of view of a Christian, making the point that Dave was trying to point out? Is there disagreements or anything that he has said? Is he not going to heaven? Are you not going to heaven? None of us is going to heaven.
I have a comment on the whole translation thing.
I'll let you go next, Santi. I'll let you go.
Yeah,
next.
let me just say, I'm Spartan. I'm Ethan. Everybody should check out my channel, Spartan Theology. I've been on here enough that I get to self-promote. I'm making that call right now. But no, thank you for having me on. And I'll let Santi say what he's got to say. I got some things to say, but I just have a very not like contradictory to what Smokey's saying, but I just think about it much differently and would say it differently. Not that, and I think like if we had more of a conversation, me and him, we probably agree on a lot of things. I just like think the way he's going about thinking about it might be incorrect or whatever. But that's whatever. We'll get into it.
Well, let Santi go. But I definitely want to poke the lion that is Ethan tonight. He texted me and told me he wasn't in a good mood. We could get a fight tonight, so we definitely need to poke that lion. Santi, go on ahead.
Okay, because the whole thing with me, because you're dealing with a translation from a translation from a translation from a translation, no matter which Bible you picked up, right? and I speak two languages. Right, I speak English to a certain extent, and I speak perfect Spanish. Right, and those languages are completely known to the modern era. Right, when we do translations, and I can tell you 100% every translation that I see from English to Spanish barely makes any sense, because you can't express the certain phrases in English that like you do in Spanish, and then Spanish changes from like region to region, same as English, like the same as the difference between how like Dave speaks and Manda speaks, right? And so like the ancient part of the Bible or all these scriptures, right, were written in ancient Greek, right, in a specific, or Hebrew, or in a specific area where they speak with a specific slang and stuff like that. So you're dealing with translation with people that spoke different English, and then so on to modern English, or whichever. Excuse, this is a second language. And just my thing is like, how you reconcile what you study, even when you study the Greek, the ancient Greek parts, to get like Matthew, whichever you said.
I'm sorry. Have you? I'm not trying to be rude or dismissive or anything.
No,
have you done any research on textual criticism of the New or Old Testament?
No, I just read it.
Okay. That's why. Here's the thing. I don't think I should probably respond to that here, because really what it is a whole bunch of very, very bizarre, inaccurate myths about how the book was preserved. So I don't, and that's a whole thing to kind of go into, which would basically require me to almost give you a primer in basic textual criticism. So maybe I'll tell you what. If you do want to come to a live show, we can. Yeah, I do see you're holding the book. Yeah, sometimes we use more than that. So yeah, if you would like to come unpack that a little bit, because like you started with just a blatant fallacy, which you actually contradicted yourself later on by saying that it was translation on top of translation on top of translation, which you know is inaccurate because you said we refer to the original Greek, which we do, which is what we have original to reference and cross-reference to. So when you say translation off of translation off of translation, that's just something atheists say. It's a nonsensical point. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but it's purely ignorant.
I wouldn't go so far as saying ignorant, but I would definitely agree that there is certain things that does get repeated. I wouldn't go so far as saying we've got atheist memes. There's as many atheist memes as there is Christian memes, Ethan, I know that you've got some background stuff.
Yeah, I don't find memes helpful because I think they're just many echo chambers. I'd rather,
stupid. Ethan.
Yeah, I hate Christian memes. I hate atheist memes. I think they're a waste of time.
I hate most people repeating themselves. This is why we've created this channel, Smokey. If I can just say that, man, this is why we've created that, to try and not have the same repetitive things. We do want to try and move past that. Say your bit, we'll move to Ethan, and then we'll go to Geo. And Atheist Donna has popped into the back room. I know nobody on YouTube can see her, but it's just the fucking way OBS is. Thank you, Donna, for joining us. So,
no worries.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Ethan, go on ahead.
But yeah, the one thing I just wanted to point out, like at the very start, like you made it seem like you can't even translate something from like English to Spanish, and like it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, that's just a lie, obviously. I mean, there's movies that get translated in books every day that get translated to hundreds.
And I can assure you that there's certain words and phrases in a movie that you translate from English to Spanish that you had to replace.
Oh yeah. But you can make it. Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense. The overall story
gets completely meaning a different thing.
There's cultural meanings that might be lost in some of the translation.
Yeah, but the overall message gets preserved. Like you can't say that you can't translate. You can translate a book, and I mean, you can read Harry Potter in Spanish or in Chinese, and I mean, they can talk about the book, and it's going to be pretty much the same. I mean, they might think of some things differently because of their culture, for sure. Like, they might put more importance on some, like, festival because it's more related to a festival in their culture or whatever. Sure, like, when they discuss it, there'll be differences, but they know the same story, I would say. So to say, like, you can't translate something even from English to Spanish is just, I mean, that's just not true.
No, say can't translate. I can't say. I say it's not a perfect translation.
Oh yeah, not perfect.
Meaning on the way.
Yeah, I guess
I don't think there is such a thing. Is there such a thing?
Yeah, if you're thinking like a KJV onlyist or whatever, yeah, sure. Like that's just dumb. But yeah, I don't hold that obviously, and like you can't have a perfect translation. I don't think our Bible is perfect or anything like that. So,
Gio, have you anything you'd like to add before I nip over to Rib? He's having a heart attack.
Well, I'd just like to say that the Bible is a book, right? And
it's actually a whole bunch of books, but yeah.
Well, but if I pick it up, it's a book.
It's a library.
Okay, sure.
It's a book. It looks like a book to me, and I'm not going to base my whole life on a book. I can't even tell who authored it.
That's fine. You don't have to.
But I'm not going to base a worldview on a book that I can't even figure out who wrote it.
Oh, that's fine.
Why would I even do that?
Yeah, no, you probably wouldn't, and that's fine because there is something to be said for this. It's not. I don't let this sound too harsh, but I mean it's kind of true. Like it's not fair to all the people that actually really lived, died, struggled, and suffered to kind of promote this path of salvation for all of people.
That's just.
Well, just let me finish.
That's
just
too
let me
bad
finish.
for them.
Gio, let him finish. You did your bit. Let him finish. Yeah.
Yeah, just let me finish. I'll let you respond. So it's not really fair to make all of us have to live with all of you that were belligerent, and didn't actually put in as much effort or basically sincerity necessarily.
You don't have to say belligerent, and you don't have to go that far. You could just say someone who hasn't studied or done that. Remember, you said yourself, you get what you give, and if you're going to make subtle digs at people, you get subtle digs back.
MathPig, I think you've gotten the impression I have a pretty thick skin for the most part. I'm not trying to be
offensive. I don't want people. I understand that you have a thick skin, so you can take a dig. I still don't like digs being thrown out. So,
well, I don't know a better way to put it because in our worldview, I'm just presenting it from our worldview. I don't intend it to be offensive. That's why I said at the beginning.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if I'm going to stand up and give you the floor over Gio. And Gio being a Patreon and a friend of mine and this, that, and the other, if I'm going to stand up and shut him down to let you speak, I'm not going to let you sit there and say he's belligerent.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take it back. I'll retract. If the atheists decide to live a lifestyle contrary to the faith test that we succeeded in, it doesn't seem just or the action of a righteous God to have those two parties in the same environment with the same rewards. And now this is the very, very outer level of it before we really dig deeper, but it's kind of this idea of where some might expect God to act unrighteously according to his nature in the guise of maybe being righteous to their standards, if that makes sense. I'll yield.
Well, I think you've committed a fallacy there with the that appeal to popularity thing.
What was the appeal to popularity? I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Well, you said there were many people who believed this and died for it, right?
Right.
Yeah, and what is that? That's an appeal to popularity.
Well,
right?
it's pure, but I'm speaking purely from my worldview because. Well, but from your worldview,
once you start using fallacies, your argument falls apart.
Well, hold on. It's not a fallacy inside my worldview, which is what I was speaking.
Yeah, well, like I said, you base your worldview on a book that you can't even tell me who wrote it. Okay. Well, why would I base my life on a book I couldn't even tell you who wrote it?
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Let Smokey answer, and then we'll move around.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, Sam. You might not be able.
So you have to.
Sam, no, Sam. I said let him answer. I did.
No, I'm not trying to be interruptive here. No, I'm just. This is. I was just pitching the answer to you from my worldview because I feel like the question was posed into my worldview. So
well, if you have to apply fallacies to get your point across, then your arguments are crap, man.
Okay, well, why is it a fallacy?
Well, it's you're saying that a lot of people have died and they believe this and that's why it's the way it is.
No.
Oh, that's not what you said?
I'm saying from my worldview.
All right, forget it. Forget I said anything, okay?
Well, Well, no, Sam, I'm not trying to I actually would like you to understand where I'm
you
coming
want to
from.
dismiss everybody who doesn't fit your mold. Okay,
I don't think
you want
that's
to do.
really fair. I think I'm trying to be really, really open here. I'm willing to explain it to you again if it helps.
You didn't explain anything to me. You explained the fallacy to me, and that's where your argument fell apart.
Okay. All right, that's fine if you want to take it that way.
I don't think we're going to get any further with that. So Brian has just joined us. I think you met Smokey last time, Brian. Smokey, I don't know if you remember, Brian. I think I got one question.
I think Brian gave me the first question last time. Maybe there was the evolution question. Maybe was that
about your conversation with Jackson?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I do remember you, man. How you doing?
Actually, I just want to take a stab at the topic that they had decided for tonight about religion and society.
Oh, that's all right. Take us back 40 minutes. Go on ahead.
I just wanted to say that the most cooperative and cohesive and successful societies that exist are definitely not religious, because they're not humans. They're ants. They use social insects, cooperate as a society, and are more successful as a society than humans could ever hope to be. That's all I wanted to say about that. Continue your discussion.
Well, Rib, as I said, he was having a heart attack up in the top corner, so we'll let Rib jump in for a wee minute.
Yep. Okay, so, oh god, the first point about I know what you're saying about the translations from languages to language, but I mean, yeah, I don't really think that anyone can kind of deny that the first people that were telling the stories were going from person to person to person. It was word of mouth, and I mean, we all know how the game of telephone works, but that's just a minor point. The kind of bigger point that was kind of brought up a little bit after that, I don't mean to totally toss out that point. Smokey, you obviously can respond. The kind of bigger point, though, that was just kind of brought up, the idea that if somebody dies for something, or if somebody believes in something so strongly that they are willing to die for it, that necessarily the argument was said, though not in those words, that it kind of strengthens the validity of that point of view, and I don't really kind of see how it does, because there are Buddhists who set themselves on fire. There are people who have died for terrible things all over the world.
Hold on,
I'm just saying,
if I may.
Smokey, just let him finish his point. I'm sure he's not going to go on about monks killing themselves for 5 minutes. Let him finish his point, and then you can speak.
Yeah, it was just that, and I mean, there are people, sorry, who have died for terrible things, all over the world. I don't really kind of think that kind of should lend any sort of credence to what they believe and what they think. That was kind of it. I was.
Did you guys think
anyway?
Did you guys think I was answering the question? Does God exist? Like I was trying to pose an argument for the existence of God?
No,
because it seems like that's what you and Sam were maybe saying. Well, that's a fallacy. No, I'm. You asked me again, Rib. Okay. You guys are posing the question to me, in my worldview, of a justification metric for how I see this, how I see it being okay, that maybe you guys can't quite see the things the rest of us see. Okay, that was the only answer to the question from inside my worldview. Now, you can reject it, because again, it's not your worldview, but you asked the question the way I see it. That's what I answered. Now, if you want to call me answering a question about my worldview, in my worldview, as a fallacy, I can't help you. But this was not an argument to a consensus that so many people believe in God, therefore God is true. It was, how do you rationally justify the idea that some of us don't believe or can't believe? This was the answer I was posing.
I don't think Sam did either, kind of frame it from a prove that your God exists type of argument, and that's the response that we got. I don't really think that we had kind of said it from that initial standpoint. I think that it was just kind of
well, I think Sam wanted to know how he could end up not believing. If all of us can believe, maybe Sam, correct me. I'm not trying to misrepresent you here, but if is he still here?
Sam's there. He's muted at the minute, but he's there. He's probably screaming at the camera, but he's there. He might have popped out for a cigarette, but
okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to like talk without him here or anything, but I was, I was really just trying to answer the question of him kind of being like, well, doesn't it seem maybe unfair that like if you guys kind of get it and I don't, and that's kind of where I was going, like where maybe God, if God exists, if you'll allow me to beg the question, would actually have the sovereignty to choose who actually ends up spending eternity with them. Like I guess maybe this idea, I don't share this idea that God is, I guess, obligated to save everyone. I guess that just doesn't seem coherent to me.
Why would you
Dave
think
screaming with yourself muted, Dave? You're muted, Dave. You're muted, Dave.
Sorry.
Damn it! Do you hold? Sorry. Do you hold that there is a plan that what will happen is God's plan?
No. Well, yes, but yes and no, because I'm not a predestinarian. Well, because the problem is when you say yes to that,
I'm fucking allowed to laugh at that.
Can I answer? The problem is when you say yes to that, usually what atheists automatically carry forward is predestinarian perspectives. So like when I say like God had a plan, I mean there was a plan to be laid out that could have manifested in a whole bunch of different potential realities. But
he could have picked which one he wanted,
but he didn't, and he wouldn't, and he couldn't. In my worldview, it would be an immoral act to do so. But that's a whole thing to unpack in and of itself. But to me, I need to clarify, because usually when atheists ask that, they think, okay, God predestined evil, rape, murder, baby death, all this stuff. That's immediately a very pure Calvinistic predestinarian perspective, and I don't have that. So when people say, well, did God have a plan? Well, yes, in the broad scope of actually having a creature, a creation that he could actually have a loving relationship with, sure, that plan absolutely he had. Did it follow the exact perfect path plan? Well, clearly not. This is a type of grotesque, perversion of reality of what we probably could have had. But this is one of those clarifications of whether or not when you say, hey, did God have a plan? Yes, but you're going to say, oh, well, then God planned all this crap. And that's
you're a lot easier to talk to. Well, they're going to say the Christians that claim there is a perfect plan and that we're following it are a lot easier to argue with.
Well, yeah, because they're very simplistic and they don't think very much about what they believe. Yeah, I find them very frustrating myself. I mean, you guys must love them because they're very easy to fumble. They're very easy to find contradictions. Any atheist, by the way, I'll just go ahead and say it right now. Any atheist can win any debate with any Calvinist by just saying, "Your God predestined baby rape." Debate over. Debate over.
They don't accept that.
Yeah, they don't. That's
they'll argue with it.
Yeah,
they'll argue with it. I mean, generally, if you'll find sometimes a pretty dishonest one, yeah, they'll go through all manner of mental gymnastics. But if you get a hold of someone that's real direct about it, like say for instance, RC apologist, oh no, he'll be upfront with you about it for sure. He'll, in fact, he'll say, yes, God predestined baby rape to his glory. Oh, yes, he will say something like that. Absolutely.
The twisting of morality I find very odd. That you can say something that we think is objectively evil for subjectively, because you objectively means something different to you.
Right. Well, it might.
Say again?
It might. I mean, we might. I mean, there might be an assumption there in terms of my perspective of objectivity versus subjectivity, especially with morality. What is that?
There's never been demonstrated to be anything such thing as objective morality.
We actually just, if anybody wants to jump in, we do have a spur slot. There is a spur slot. It's been lying open for a wee while. I'm not sure who we lost because there was so many moving about, but spot open if anybody wants to jump in. Spartan, yes.
I can't actually hear anything because there's some sort of a whole bunch of background noise.
Who is that?
Ricardo, can you mute so that we can, because we're hearing some background noise there.
Yeah, Ricardo, you might have the stream open or use your headphones if at all possible. And again, we do have a spot, Dave, if you can pop the link in the chat. Even you don't need to. There is, it's in the description. I don't know if you noticed,
I'll cycle out here in a few minutes, but does anyone, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to like leave something like up in the air if someone wants to like kind of nail it down or something. I mean,
can I just follow up what you were talking about? Like, so for us as non-believers, do you believe that we were destined to be non-believers
No.
by God's plan?
No.
So just humans are. So everything that is moving forward is God aware of the end that we're coming to? Is that,
Yes. What we would be dealing with would be a dissection of the difference between Molinism and open theism, and I border the fence on those. You guys would typically be familiar with the more major camps of Christianity, which would be Arminianism and Calvinism, which is basically the two polar opposites of each other. You have absolute, complete, and utter free will in the Arminianism camp, where God really just completely stays out of human choice interaction whatsoever, and they have a very hard time reconciling verses like Romans 9, where it talks about God hardening Pharaoh's heart, and they go through lots of mental gymnastics with that. I think they're a bit of a theological mess. And then you have the other side, the other extreme, which is the Calvinist, which God predestined everything, which doesn't even make philosophical sense in the Bible. And there's one story that actually breaks Calvinism. I've asked this question to many Calvinists. I have not got a single one to actually be able to answer it for me. Moses, when he was in the wilderness, was told to strike the rock and then speak to the rock. What did Moses do? He struck the rock and then he struck the rock again. Okay, so that means that God predestined Moses to violate God's predestined will. Make that make sense. So Calvinism is a theological, philosophical dumpster fire, and I don't mind exposing it for what it is. And that's one of the things I do. I mean, it's not like just atheism is my thing. Granted, I do a lot about atheism, but
yeah, so
Calvinism,
go back to the point that Dave pointed out earlier.
Sure.
You know, not only do you destroy atheism, so to speak, not only do you destroy Catholicism, so to speak.
I just hate bad arguments. I understand, but what
I'm trying to get to is, you know, you just basically did say what Dave said at the start that you disagreed with, that it was about that you go forward and change people's views to match your views. That is, you want people.
Well, certainly at the very least, I would want to instigate thought, and this is something I've said in my streams many times.
Don't make me fucking agree with the statement. Be really particular. I don't want to agree with you. Go on ahead.
Well, I think I've admitted this many times on stream, that one of the driving purposes is to get people who typically don't think about their beliefs very often to start actually thinking about it. Like, you can have yourself swayed by a terrible argument because maybe, and this applies to Christians too, this is a human condition. Maybe you don't have the personal discipline or the character to test your belief. Maybe you want to believe what you believe. That's why, for me, especially through many of my paths of different beliefs, and by the way, I've been a portion of almost every single denomination there was, with the exception of some of the cults. I mean, the cults like JWs and Mormons. I never went down that road. I mean, I did go to a couple town meetings, but that was more out of curiosity than anything. But no, I've been in all of these camps. I've seen what they believe, and they've all had problems that I would basically challenge my faith to reconcile. And I know that I'm called in my book to test everything to the book. So, like, when someone gives me a garbage argument or a weird theology, I'm actually told to test it. And I don't know too many other religions out there that are told to do that. I mean, Islam has literally told the Muslims to not ask questions in the Hadith. Like, literally, don't ask questions. And we're told to actually test everything, keep what is good.
You can make that statement, man. I agree with you on that in certain points, but you can go to a lot of churches where they basically tell you don't ask questions. You know,
well, of course.
It's definitely put across.
And by the way, another thing I've said on my stream lately is how happy I am to have found myself amongst my particular circle of brotherhood that I have. This is the first time in my entire life I found this level of acceptance for considering how divergent my beliefs are from all of these young earth brothers and sisters I got around me. I mean, they don't hate me. I don't hate them. We disagree. We argue. We strengthen each other, but we still have our disagreements. There's no animosity there, though, because we understand, to us, this is all peripheral theology. We focus on the core issue of Christ as our Lord and Savior, risen from the dead. And anything past that, is up to our personal discernment and dealing with the saints.
Well, if I can give anyone, I think Rib wants to ask a question, and then what I'll do is...
if we could kind of make this maybe one or two, and then I got to kind of wrap up.
Well, what I was going to do, Smokey, is after Rib makes a retort to what you were saying, is give you an opportunity to ask any of us anything that you would like to ask?
Oh.
Because we've
Oh
been
my
poking the
goodness.
shit out of
Okay.
you in that, not that way.
Well, that's why I come in here to do these things too. You know, I mean, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. It's it's kind of like how
an opportunity, as I did try to explain to you on Music Reactions, who, by the way, is a real nice guy. I disagree with 99.9% of what that man says. His laugh is worse than yours, but he's good fun.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say it. No, mine is way worse. Mine is
I'm
way
jabbing,
worse.
I'm jabbing.
Don't even go that road. I won't have you say such horrible things about music analysts.
Rib, go on ahead.
I was listening to everything that was being said or whatever, but it was really just more of like a comment, really. Like when you were saying that that like people have been like swayed by like bad arguments. I just had Ben Shapiro's name going over and over and over in my head for like 5 minutes, but that was that was kind of it. I don't really have much else to kind of respond to that.
Well,
I could if we had more time, but
Well, do you want to mention about the time that you and Smokey are going to spend in the next too distant future, or do you want to let that be?
Well, yeah. Well, look, I mean, you've kind of
moving on,
thrown something out there. Yeah, we are going
Rip,
to
stop
be,
being so uncomfortable. Just talk. It's all good.
I'm not uncomfortable. No, I'm not.
It's fine to say that the date is not set yet, but can we have a verbal agreement on a recording on YouTube?
We're going to do it. We're just letting Rib, because he's kind of got school stuff going on too, and like I don't want to.
It's actually work stuff right now. It's actually work stuff right now.
I don't want it. Like, I just, because it's so hard to sometimes get it arranged with James, and like, because his schedule's crazy right now too. So it's just easier if more of us are mostly open. You know what I mean? Like, it's just easier that way.
Well, I would definitely like to host that, as I've mentioned to Rib, and it's welcome to do that here. I am aiming to try and host.
Oh, well, I don't care.
Here,
we do it anywhere. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah. Oh man, you're gonna love the intro. You're gonna love the intro.
Okay, I'll yeah, totally.
Yeah. So as MathPig had said, the date is not yet announced, but it'll be hopefully mid, if not before mid-September. That's when that's what I'm kind of hoping that it'll be. But yeah, me and Smokey are going to be debating on the channel, so looking forward to it. Actually, I'm looking forward to it, man.
So
yeah, like not to kind of take over, but
no, that's happening. It's going to be fun. So look, man, I'm telling everyone to hit the subscribe button so they can come back and see this. I'm trying to fish here for subs. Shh, be quiet. So on that note, Smokey, is there anything that you would like to ask any of us here?
Oh boy, it's still kind of a little bit of a new.
Dave's broken my computer.
Getting to know everyone. I think really the only person I know, like with any type of like semblance at all, is kind of Rib. So I guess maybe ask him a question.
Yeah,
if I could kind of, throw something up real quick. In your. Forgive me too. I'm just kind of throwing this out there because I kind of want to. It kind of came up on like in the glance during our debate. Like it was the idea of there's kind of these. You were saying that you wanted to work as a caseworker. You're kind of like looking into that where you want to. Is there something that you particularly notice up there in your neck of the woods that like is not being addressed? Like something where there is some sort of like, you would almost call it like social cancer that really like that maybe even instigated you to say, you know what, I should get into this business and do something about it. Like was there something that kind of just, spiked your moral nerve and you just kind of felt compelled?
Do you know what's quite funny? If I can just interrupt, that's near enough the exact same wording of the first question I usually ask everybody when they come onto my channel for an interview.
Interesting. Cool. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, okay. So there's a number of things that I can. Okay. Sorry. I'm deciding whether or not to kind of go the long-winded or short-winded. I'll try and do a little bit of both.
I mean, yeah, do whatever you got to do, bro. No, it's cool.
A social worker in the United States is kind of usually fixed to being like the person who will go out and visit families who are not necessarily good at being a family and try and make them to be good at being a family, right? That's kind of like usually, and in worst case scenarios, they will take the kids out of the homes. That's kind of generally what a social worker does. For some reason in Ireland, because we are special, we have shoved the word care in there. So we have social care workers. So the degree that I am doing is to be a social care worker. and it's much more broad. So like from that, I can go into therapy, which is actually kind of what I'm more so leaning into doing. To kind of give your question a direct answer, what kind of spurred me into doing that is because I just kind of just so happened to be that friend that if any of my friends were kind of going through something, or if they were, you know, like having trouble or etc., that I would be the one that they came to. And I just was kind of good at talking people through things and, you know, like getting a different perspective out there and stuff like that. And I was like, fuck it, you know what? If I can be paid for this, I think I'm onto something here.
Right.
So that's kind of literally just kind of where it came from. But no, if I didn't kind of want to go down the whole therapy route, I could be a social worker. Definitely the kind of institutionalized pedophilia that's in the Catholic Church, that kind of, you know, obviously is a massive issue. It has to be said that it's still an issue today. So yeah, like kind of going into any of those areas, that would be yeah.
Right. You know, it's one of the things that I kind of pay attention to a little bit too, because I mean, I know that like the way that we treat our children, it's absolutely going to have an effect on our very near future. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like for like here in America, and I don't know like really how bad it is over in your neck of the woods, but like just as like a quick example, the last stats I checked, I think back in 2019, you know, there's like 400,000 kids just displaced inside the system with no actual home to go to at all, just some type of orphanage or, you know, rotating foster care or something like that. And most of these kids, once they reach a certain age, you know, right around 7 or 8, their chances of being adopted go down dramatically, and then they almost basically end up being trapped in the system. And so then the system raises them, and I don't think the system is a particularly good parent, and I think it's negligent, and I think it ends up exposing these children to a lot of abuse. So I always, this is kind of one of those things a little bit close to my heart, because I believe it does very, very directly, some might say indirectly, but I think it very directly affects our near future as to how we're handling this next generation of children coming up, and how many of them are going to be in these real horrible situations, being raised in, you know, morally bankrupt situations. So, you know, I certainly am in support of anyone that wants to spend their life kind of focusing on that type of work, because I think it's essential.
As I said on Monday, whenever we had Cynthia on, and to quote Michael Jackson again, is that the children are our future, you know. It really is something. It's also something that Noel Plumpop pointed out in one of the recent interviews I had with him. It was from an atheist point of view, Smokey, but the point still stands, is the small things don't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's the general population change of the age group growing up that's making the big changes, and that has the different mindset. So either going your way, our way, or whatever way they want to, it is the generation coming after us that's going to make the difference. Like.
Exactly, and that's what partly what worries me, because if they kind of judge a cultural moral standard the same way I have, and they kind of take it to a new level, they might end up wanting to license things that our generation would find just crude, gross, and vulgar. You know, and that's one of the things I worry about, is an inability to maybe establish some of those really essential, you know, basic decency and character traits in some of the kids, because they're just
Dave, you're muted, Dave. Fuck's sake, Dave.
This is one of the things, though, where I think Christianity in the States is having a massive negative effect, because so many. I mean, the young in the States right now are leaving Christianity at a rate of knots. I mean, I read report after report after report of them basically panicking that all their kids are leaving. And it seems to be coming down to a conflict between what the teachings are and how they see people actually acting. And the people in the church, the various different sects, I don't know what you call them, denominations, between how they are living their lives and how they are treating people and how they are told they are meant to in their religion. And very quickly, these two things disconnect. And then people look at the rest of it and say, this is garbage, and leave. Now, I'm not saying whether or not it is as to whether or not there is any truth to it, but the moral foundations that you're teaching them, you're basically teaching them these are a good set of morals, but we don't follow them.
Well, I don't know about
so throwing them all out.
I don't know about that. I mean, which morals would you think that we're ignoring?
In terms of what Christianity teaches?
I love the way Dave went up a fucking octave there in terms of Christianity.
I think that's
just to say, right? If I can do a shout out, if I can just say this here before Smokey jumps in, Smokey does have a premiere in about 30 minutes, so we're if we can round up on poking the man and asking him questions, I do want to give him a chance to ask someone else a question and give him an opportunity to annoy us. So Dave, get your fucking high octave bit in, and someone else, or Smokey, can ask a question too. Then
I said coveting is an example.
Okay.
It's preached about regularly within the church, and yet in homes up and down, in Christian homes up and down, the parents are seeing coveting constantly. The consumerism is demonstrated to the kids that this is a good thing, even though it's preached that it's a bad thing.
So is the argument bad Christians disprove Christianity?
No, I'm not. No, I've made very clear. I'm not talking about the truth of it. We're talking about. I was commenting on the fact that you were worried about the morals of that next generation, and I'm saying that they are throwing out.
Many of them have garbage morals.
It's not that they've got garbage morals. It's that the parents aren't acting out the morals they claim to have, and the kids are then seeing that and basically throwing everything.
I guess I don't see. I guess I don't see capitalism as covetousness. I guess maybe I don't know how to really necessarily connect those two.
I think consumerism rather than capitalism.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I don't know how. I don't know how to connect those. Maybe you have an argument for it, but I don't.
How about the pandemic connecting those? Because you have these people that are wanting to go to church and wanting to be able to go to their
right.
stores and go get their haircuts and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where each person probably is supposed to have the right to decide what's essential to them. Like for instance, Matt Dillahunty, and forgive me, Rib, I know you love Matt, but Matt Dillahunty did make a pretty big stink about everyone having to definitely follow those COVID rules. Don't disobey the rules, always wear your mask, don't go outside, all these things, obey the laws and all that. But he was fine out of a state of essentiality, breaking the rules to move someone into his house. And that was a judgment call, and I don't disagree with it. I think that was a perfectly noble and fine thing to do, but it's a little hypocritical to then take that super rigid stance and say everyone else has to do what you clearly have not done. This is an example of that. Now, and since you mentioned it, by the way, the COVID, in terms of how secularized morality inside our nation has completely failed us. Look at what happened right after COVID. Did everyone act in a Christian-aligned, benevolent, self-sacrificial manner, or did they all run outside, think of themselves and their own only, grab as much as they could, deprive others of the chance to get basic necessities, and try to make a profit, many of them, off of the crisis?
You were short on TP during the start few months, weren't you?
Now, I would tell you, if you found a Christian that did that, I'd be the first one to say that they're probably not a Christian, they're a garbage human being, and they have no semblance of Christian ethics in them. That is not what we are called to do by any semblance of the imagination, and there's dozens of verses against it, including self-sacrifice, loving your neighbor, and loving others as yourself, just to name a few.
And saying that, man, a lot of the things, now, not to get too deep down a rabbit hole, is very close to that, but things like that you've just mentioned could be aligned with humanism without the religiosity.
Yes, but without the foundation, without the mitigating factors behind it.
Well,
so,
I would say without the ground basis for a community to start.
So what justification do you have to not do something wrong if you don't get caught? If you know you're not going to get caught?
Me personally.
Well, anyone.
Well, it depends on the situation every single time, man.
Well, I know some.
I found a wallet. Don't get me wrong. I found a wallet on the street that's had 50 quid in it with a driver's license, and I've went and give that back.
Is he really going to do this?
Hold on.
It's mostly empathy.
Right, and I've went back and I've give it back to them. But don't get me wrong, I've been in a situation where work and, was no paperwork. That tenner didn't go into the till. You know,
No, I
that's
like
a
that
big
Dave
giant
said
community, a big giant company that's worth fucking millions that doesn't give a fuck about me. The situation is different. I wouldn't steal from Dave, but a tenner here and there for £1 million company.
Right, but I guess that's my point. Like, at some point, because there is the existence of the moral dilemma, this is something that just is a factor of our reality. That means that sometimes there might not be a right decision. And I like what Dave said. Dave said something interesting. He said empathy. Yes. Now that's interesting because that is one of the most fragile of the components of the human condition. It pretty much, for most people, only takes you getting screwed over once for you to decide that empathy might not be worth it. In fact, just as an example, like for instance, MathPig, you finding that wallet. I mean, what if you had just lost your wallet a week before and you were counting on someone at that bar to return it to you and they didn't, and then you found this wallet? Would you potentially feel the same level of empathy? Like, well, you know what? The world screws me, so I'm going to screw it and I'm just going to keep this money. To heck with it. You know, I mean,
can understand where you're coming from. 100%. The situation defines the situation. I can also tell you from my own personal view, and there's, you know, this is a whole blowing smoke up my own ass and look at me, I'm fantastic. But I'd 70 quid left in my account, and I know a person who was stuck away from home with no taxi ride and hadn't eaten that day, and I sent them $50 on the condition that they would send me a picture of a meal.
Right.
You know, so that was I didn't need it at the minute because I had food. You know, I was going to do without a bottle of Buckfast. I was going to do without a packet of cigarettes. That particular person was going to get stuck 30 miles from home. You know, so, you know,
so you could see how that could even be a moral dilemma. You could understand that. Like there almost doesn't seem to necessarily be a wrong answer or a right answer.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. And that's what I'm talking about. The fact that those exist is not a license for us to kind of leverage that, you know, against the circumstances to necessarily make a judgment call. And sometimes it's done against God, is to leverage the moral dilemma. You know, that the moral dilemma exists. So therefore, it's kind of a defeater for God. But, you know, we're supposed to have the opportunity of the free will exercise. And by dynamic of the existence of the free will exercise, there's a possibility of that moral dilemma happening. Eventually, you could make so many bad decisions, dig yourself so deep a hole. The only thing you have left to do, both things are equally awful. You know, a good example, a story in the Bible. The people in, I think it was the Assyrian siege or the Babylonian siege, and the lady goes to the king and is, you know, brokering with the king. Hey, make this chick give up her baby. We slaughtered my baby the other day and ate it. Now it's time to do hers, and she's hidden it. You know, like that's one of those situations of what a bizarre, incredible moral quandary to actually be in, to be starving out in a siege, to have committed a promise to kill your child, to feed two families so they don't potentially starve, knowing that hiding the baby is likely going to cause it to starve and everyone to starve along with it. That's a pretty complex dynamic to make a decision in.
On a personal note, I know a guy that lived very close when I was growing up that was kicked out by his parents for stealing. He then ended up living on a sofa at his auntie's house with no money and ostracized because of the stealing, so had nothing to do but to steal. He then was kicked out of there, and my mother took him in and put him up on the sofa and gave him money, and he ended up still stealing from my mother. He ended up then with nothing. He ended up living in council homes, and he died at the age of 35, overweight with a heart attack. You know,
tragic.
It's too young. It is a progressive thing. We need to start and help people from the get-go.
Well, I have to run, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Definitely, Smokey.
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, do you mind if I had one quick question to Brian? And he doesn't have to spend a long time on it, but it's just because we had that evolution thing last, and I don't want to do a whole.
Not only can you ask him a question, I'll even fucking let you plug your stream. Go on ahead.
Oh, sweet, man. Appreciate that. Cool. Brian, just a quick question. Can you, you have that idea, the single cell kind of leading to all the complex life type perspective, like that maybe there was something very, very simple, maybe not a first cell, I don't know what you believe, but I mean something very, very basic that kind of led to all the complex life.
Okay. I'll follow with you.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, and forgive me if I'm misrepresenting at any point too. And I'll admit too, I'm not super science literate. I'm still learning.
That's all right.
I've admitted that even in my debates. In fact, part of the reason I even go to debate is to also learn, because I get the chance to, actually hear the arguments of these people that are far more progressed scholastically than I am on some of these topics. So I don't look at it as really anything to be afraid of. But I was wondering if you could kind of pitch to me your kind of perspective of, like, what is really the best evidence that the single cell can end up being much more complex multicellular cells?
I can only say for me personally, and I don't, in the areas of science that I'm more versed in would be like phylogeny. So it's basically built on the fossil record.
Okay, well then let me retract. Okay, I want to retract the question, and I'd like to ask a new one. Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
The family, maybe it's not a family, species, the ratites. Yeah, the flight birds. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I think at one point it was kind of like assumed in the evolutionary phylogeny that they all came from a single flightless ancestor. Is that kind of because based upon their morphology, right?
Okay.
And then we started cracking the actual genomes, like the actual codes, the DNA, and we found out that they actually all had, like, there was actually 3 separate individual ancestries of these birds. But so they all kind of evolved the same features, those same legs, the same non-aerodynamic feathers, the same, shortened wings, even though they didn't have, even though they didn't have a common ancestor. So, like, does that provide any bit of issue for you in your theory as to how accurate phylogeny is?
So we can actually demonstrate this across the globe that certain conditions are going to lead to certain body types. Convergent evolution is a term that they used to use a lot for it. Now there's a newer term which is escaping me at the moment.
That's right. Yeah, convergence is the only one I've ever known. That's just what
anyhow, it's so like we see that when birds are isolated on an island with no large predators, they tend towards the larger body size and all that, because it wasn't just ratites that assumed this kind of form. You're familiar with the dodo, a large-bodied bird that's isolated onto an island.
Yeah, no, there was a few. Well, there was a few extinct species that are still part of those 3 lineages, I believe. There was another one, the Madagascar something or other, that is extinct or something.
The elephant bird. And these these are all different lines of ancestry. I mean, obviously they're all birds, but they all tended towards the same body type due to the environment.
Do you think that the existence of that type of dynamic maybe causes like an issue in terms of maybe we've assumed a little too much in the phylogeny of the fossil record since we see this happening?
That's the good thing about these being isolated on islands, because we can actually see, as we dig deeper, we see the species getting smaller in caves or whatever, because these are recent. Some of these areas were just recently, people started visiting them. So there's rich layers of records of these animals changing over time in this isolation. I think it actually bolsters more than tears down. Do you understand where I'm going there?
I think I kind of do. We probably would need to talk about it almost another.
I'm just keep looking at the time. I feel that Smokey's giving us an awful lot of time here.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, and I wanted to give you a good show, MathPig, too, and I appreciate you having me. Guys, feel free to come onto my channel. We're doing that premiere of that incredible, beautiful, glorious dumpster fire that was Godless Girl and T-Jump against me and Vince. So come by and take a look and laugh your asses off. We certainly will.
Say that again. If you can just repeat dumpster fire again there, Smokey.
Dumpster fire!
Oh, no, I hit the wrong button. Do it again.
Dumpster fire!
There you go. Now I've got an icon.
Is it the soundbite now? Is it the soundbite now?
Oh, no, I put flames behind the entire screen when you did that.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, have I earned to be called a trash clown or not? I just want to know.
Well, you have to earn it. That's the thing. Yeah, you have to really kind of actually earn it. Because besides, if I said it to everyone, it wouldn't have any value then, right? I got to reserve it for who's actually a trash clown. So no,
I noticed in Knox today. I think there's a Smokey taint, a tainty Smokey, and a trash clown.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Oh, and Tangelo's here. Hey, Tangelo, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, so I guess I'm on my way. No, I think you guys were great. I think you were gentlemen. I think we had a nice conversation. I appreciate the time.
At the end of the day, Smokey, we want more Christians here, at least half and half, so we can have a genuine conversation and a genuine representation of both sides. So if you can keep continuing like this, and yeah, you're welcome back.
I'll do my best. All right, gentlemen, you have a good day.
Good luck.
You too, man. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for joining us on Tangelo.
You should.
Ryan Tangelo, are you there? Can you hear us?
There. He's not muted or anything, so he should be.
Have we an Untangelo?
We have Tangelo's icon anyway.
We do. We do. We have that.
Anybody
We just need the person behind it.
impression they can do?
It could be someone about to porn bombers.
Oh no, that's not fair. That's not fair. we all have our own. We don't need another one. Well, if we can't get an Untangelo, I think we had a great conversation tonight. I think it went really well. Ricardo, you've unmuted. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I was actually waiting for Untangelo.
Oh man, your audio is.
Yeah, I don't have the mic, so that's a problem.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Ricardo.
Thank you for joining, Ricardo.
Hi, Brian.
Would you like to ask Untangelo's icon anything?
I was hoping to go through a few questions with him. I read his. He sent a web page with a lot of information. I read through it, so I wanted to clarify a few points.
Go on ahead, man. Go on ahead. If you can, just move ever so slightly back from your mic. You're really loud and a wee bit muffled.
Okay, is this better now?
That's better. That's way better.
Cool. Yeah, because Untangelo and his factory theory is something that I would like to clarify a little bit more. And how the cell is some sort of chemical plant that has been precisely designed and it doesn't work. It was created as it is.
Untangelo's icon? Have you anything to say about that?
Well, in relation to the first question, or the question of the show, I think that its size matters.
Of course.
Because religion is only going to be contributing towards a cohesive society if it's on a small scale. If you start looking at countries and the planet, I don't think, or the human race, it's not going to be contributing to any cohesion.
Thank you, man. Hopefully we'll get the audio sorted. I do apologise, but whenever you come on earlier and there was 2 or 3 people talking, you tried to come in.
I know.
You know, I do apologise.
Something that I'm working on.
Oh no, cool. If you need any help, you know, we're obviously everybody in the community is here to help. So what we'll do is we'll work our way around the room, and yeah, I just want to say thank you everybody for coming. I think this was a good conversation. I think it went really well considering the topic and the versions and opinions that we have of different people here. So Untangelo's icon, have you anything you'd like to plug? No. Dave, you're next.
Tomorrow night. It'll be good.
What time's the stream at, Dave, in Eastern Standard Time that everybody understands?
4:30 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard.
Brilliant. Next in the line is Santi.
Bye.
Sorry,
caught me off guard. No, I'm gonna have Edward Chirac on Tuesday on my channel. We're gonna do a quick interview in English, and then on Wednesday I'm gonna do my moment of sanity with Latin atheist activist, and that will be me next week.
Yeah, definitely. If Dave can do his thing and he's already done it. Put Santi in the live chat. Go fuck yourself, Dave. Put Santi in the live chat. Yeah, it's definitely something that would be good to see in the Spanish language, because there is an awful lot of people out there, and as we've discussed tonight, between Greek and different translations and things like that, you can express your feelings back and forth, and fuck it, we'll all live with subtitles. Spartan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I've been in and out, but
so I didn't get to say too much, and I had some things to say, but whatever. We've kind of moved past that.
Man, you know, your internet was cutting in and out. It was a problem, but I really do appreciate your opinion and your point of view. Have you anything you'd like to plug and scream about?
I think we're doing a conversation later on today on Dry Apologist channel. I don't know if anybody's familiar. He's got a pretty small channel, but it's called Dry Apologist. We're going to be talking about problem of evil with regards to animal suffering.
Did he not have Dry Apologist and then change it to Apologetics Review or something, or like a debate channel?
He had Apologetics Showdown.
That's what it is.
But it's back to Dry Apologist now. Yeah.
Yeah, I seen him the other day. I subbed to that guy that you subscribe or suggested on Twitter.
Oh yeah, JB.
JB, yes. If you know JB, hit him up. Tell him to get in contact, man. I watched a wee bit of that interview. It was very interesting. I'd like to have a chat with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Next in line we've got is Ricardo. Bad audio.
Bad audio. No, I'm not going to do anything except being the same old asshole on the side chat.
True to yourself, man. True to yourself. It's the best way to be.
Yeah.
Brian, what have you got coming up?
Well, I got I've got Dragons in Genesis that we're going to be talking about monsters in the Bible someday next week, but I haven't pinned down a time yet, so that's pending. I'll tweet it when I get it. But yeah, that's all I got. I got another video that's hopefully going to come out before the end of the month, but we'll see.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Brian, up and coming star. Really, he's going to be bigger than fucking all of us. He appeals to more people than any of the rest of us. Who gives a fuck if God exists, you know? Bugs are cool. Rib, yes, we did mention earlier you've got your political debate coming up, and in a couple of weeks you've got one coming up with Smokey.
With Smokey, yeah. So I actually have it there, the little artwork. There is the thumbnail, Should We Defund the Police? Tomorrow it is at 7 Eastern. So that is, what the fuck time is that for us? That's midnight for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be streaming that over on my channel. So I don't know if I'm linked. It doesn't matter if I am or if I'm not.
I don't have a link to your channel.
Really? Hold on.
You don't have
a really? I couldn't find one. And I need to add
okay, give me a sec. Give me a sec there. Till I sort out with the link. So sorry. Other than that, as I kind of made a very vague reference to, I am starting back college soon. So yeah, I'll actually have more of like a regular schedule, which is kind of odd, but yeah, so I'll be able to kind of schedule more things. Hopefully, I'll have more debates coming up and stuff like that. So,
brilliant.
Hey, real quick before we go, on Tangelo, I see you're posting in the side chat there. Are you there? I just want to let you say anything if you needed to say anything.
He just seems to be posting YouTube links.
All right.
Oh well.
Oh well. Right, there you
week.
go. Dave's found the link. And on that note then, everybody, thank you very much for coming. It's been another great chat. And yeah, we'll see you back next week. So we will oink, we will out. Bye bye.